and welcome back to a wonderful episode of the Campman Show. I'm your host, Miss Cybulski, and I'm super excited that you are with me here today. So if you are watching this when we post this, it is Holy Week. Holy Week, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, no guys, like we made it to the end of Lent. Like what? How do we do that? I don't know, it's amazing though. So today I want to focus on a little bit about the Easter Triduum. So what is the Easter Triduum? It is Holy Thursday, which is the Thursday before Easter, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday. So in order to talk about all that, I figured I might as well bring back the stool, baby sharks, and that means we got Father Logue coming in. So here we go, people. Father Logue! Welcome to the show, Father Logue.
Thanks so much for having me, Miss Cybulski.
Classic. Always good to have you here, you know, all that. So today we're talking about the Easter Triduum.
Absolutely.
Which is really cool and really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought was, there's so much packed into these days. Yeah, like we could go on forever and ever, but we're not going to. So what I want to know from Father Logue is, if I'm gonna go to Holy Thursday Mass, Good Friday service, and Easter Mass, what is one thing I should keep in mind for each one? So let's start with Holy Thursday. A lot happens at Holy Thursday Mass. You got the washing of the feet. You got, that's as far as I got right now. But
that's the most notable thing of Holy Thursday Mass. You got that right.
It's a very special time.
Yep.
Okay. What is one thing I should focus on Holy Thursday? Because that's the first day we have off school, so it must be a big deal. So, yeah, I'll throw it your way.
Absolutely. So the washing of the feet is what stands out, but I think what's really worth paying attention to is the institution of the Eucharist. Because on Holy Thursday, we're celebrating and remembering what happened on that Thursday of that week when the disciples and Jesus sat down for the Passover meal, and everything went as normal, the normal prayers, the normal service, and then at the end of it, Jesus did something very different. And he took the bread, blessed it, broke it, gave it to them, and said, "Do this in memory of me." So in a very special way, our focus is on the Eucharist, both in the Gospel, how we remember what happened that evening, but also as we celebrate the Eucharist. It's common, not everywhere does this, but it's common to have communion under both species, both the host and the chalice on Holy Thursday, if you don't have it that way at other times. So.
Nice. Maybe a cool thing for you to do then during Holy Thursday, again, because you have off school, maybe look up some Eucharistic miracles. You know, just Google Eucharistic miracles and see what comes up. Because it would be a good day to have your mind focused on that, so that when you get to Holy Thursday Mass, you can kind of see the beauty of it all. Okay, so now let's move to Good Friday. Mm-hmm. Really interesting about Good Friday. It is the only day that we do not celebrate the Eucharist.
Correct. We don't say the prayers of consecration, the prayers that take bread and wine and transform it, that change it through transubstantiation, into the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. So you might receive communion if you go to church on Good Friday, but if you notice, we don't bring out the gifts, we don't say those prayers, we bring out the Eucharist that we reserved from the day before. And we do that because we're remembering that Jesus is in the tomb and that he is separated from us.
Actually, yeah, it's always interesting to look at Holy Thursday Mass when we were like, wow, that was a lot of hosts they consecrated there, like what? And it's for Good Friday. All right, so what is something I should focus on for Good Friday?
I think the focus on Good Friday should be on the cross, because in addition to the gospel and the readings and receiving the Eucharist, we have the veneration of the cross. And it's sort of the one time where we treat just a crucifix like the Eucharist. We come up and we genuflect before it. We all process forward to venerate the cross, either kissing it or bowing or genuflecting to it, things that we don't normally do. We don't normally genuflect to a cross. But because of the importance of that day, the cross is elevated to a more important place and a more important attitude of reverence.
So maybe on Good Friday, again, we don't have school that day either, maybe take some time and reflect on the stations of the cross. Whether you can go to your church and do it, but honestly, like sometimes it's also good to take more time personally. So, I don't know, again, Google it, because Googling is very easy. Google Stations of the Cross, and maybe just read that yourself. Another beautiful thing on Good Friday is that at 3 o'clock, to just take a moment of silence. That is the hour that Jesus died. So just take that time and just take that moment for Jesus, So then, we're moving right along. We go to Easter. If there is one thing I'm gonna take from Easter, what are your thoughts?
Well, I hate to correct you before we even go into Easter, but you said the Triduum is Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday. Technically, the Triduum is the Mass on Holy Thursday, the service on Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil. Not all the Masses on Sunday. The Masses on Sunday are important and good to go, but specifically the Easter Vigil. So your church should have an Easter Vigil service. Warning, it will be long. It is a very, very lengthy Mass. We do just about everything. There are tons of readings. Your church will probably even omit a lot of the readings and only do some of them.
I say there's everything. There's even fire. You get to hold a candle and you get to light your siblings' candles, and it's really dangerous.
We start off with a bonfire. You process into the church in the darkness. You bring in the Easter candle. You bless the holy water. If you have people in your church, they're going to be receiving baptism and confirmation and First Holy Communion. All this stuff is happening. It's pretty wild. We sing the Gloria for the first time in a while.
And the bells ring forever.
We ring all the bells. There's so much, and it's easy to get overwhelmed.
So what we're going to focus on the Easter Vigil is...
I think the best thing to focus on in the Easter Vigil is how everything has led up to that moment of Jesus' resurrection. And the way we try and show that in the Mass is by a lot of readings. And it's easy to get bogged down in oh my gosh, how many more readings are we going to do here? But to try and look for the ways that all of the different readings in the Old Testament, from Genesis through the prophets, through Moses, all of these people, how all of them point to Easter and all of them lead to Easter. And so that's good to keep in mind, that this isn't an isolated thing, but it was all building to this, and we couldn't see it until the last moment.
I think sometimes at the Easter Vigil, I'm trying to guess what pattern we're going in reading the readings. It's so we read number 1, then we read number 2, and then we skipped to 4, and then we skipped to 6. What's the pattern? But you're right, actually taking that and taking each reading and knowing what the final result is, aka Jesus rising from the dead, and how does that reading connect to it there.
Yeah, so if you've never been to the Triduum, it's well worth going.
Yeah.
Finding out when it is at your church. It'll be Thursday evening, Friday probably at 3, and then Saturday evening for the Easter Vigil.
So to wrap us up, I don't know if you can have a favorite thing about the Triduum, but what is your favorite thing about the Triduum?
Gosh, about the Triduum itself,
Put him on the spot.
Put me on the spot. I'll give you something about Holy Week instead to expand it a little bit.
That.
So during Holy Week, we have the Chrism Mass, which is a whole separate Mass that happens at the cathedral when the bishop blesses all of the oil that we use for confirmations, baptisms, anointings, ordinations, all of those things. And we once again make those promises that we made at our ordination, and it's a nice moment to make all of them together and remember that we're united in this ministry and this bond, the priesthood. So that's one of my favorite moments.
Cool. That's nice. Yeah. That's nice. Awesome. Well, please know that during this Holy Week, during this Easter Triduum, we will be praying for you, that you can make it the best you can, that you can grow closer to Jesus during this time, because there are so many beautiful moments that you can find during this week, during this Triduum, to bring you closer to the Lord. So take advantage of them. And just see where it leads you. Honestly, go to the Easter Vigil and see where it leads you. Go to a Holy Thursday Mass and see where it leads you. Grab a buddy, go together, and see what happens. Again, this is the last week, so finish strong with those Lenten promises you made, because Easter's coming and we do have to celebrate. So I'm gonna probably have 4 Coke slushies on Easter. Okay, that's excessive. I won't have that many. I'll just get one really big one, But until then, have a great one. Thanks for chatting with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.